The new tank engine. Henry was very excited. When Henry saw the new engine in the yard, he was surprised. "Who's that? Who's this?" he asked. "This is Garfield," said Sir Topham Hatt. "I have decided to give him a trial." Garfield was very happy. "You will pull some coaches," said Sir Topham Hatt. Soon, Garfield's passengers climbed aboard the coaches, and then he heard the conductor's whistle. "I better blow my whistle and go," he chuffed, and he did. Garfield went cheerfully down the line. "I want to be on time," he puffed. "Wait a minute," called his driver. "We should take on more coal and water." But Garfield didn't listen and went on his way. Garfield hadn't noticed he was slowing down. He was going so slow that the passengers said, "This is a bad railway." When they got to the bridge, Garfield came to a complete stop. He ran out of coal and water. The driver ran up to Henry. "Something happened on the bridge. Let's go see what it is," he said. Then Henry puffed away. When Henry came to the bridge, he had a question for the conductor. "What happened here?" asked Henry. "Stupid engine refused to take on more coal and water because he wanted to be on time, and now he's stuck." "Well," said Henry, "maybe you will learn to follow the railway's rules because of this." Garfield was shamefaced. Henry then buffered up behind Garfield. He pushed and pushed, and the train was moving again. They were making good time going down the line. They puffed into the station. Garfield was still sad. "What do you think about Garfield?" asked Henry. "Too much puff and not enough steam," said James. Donald and Douglas also laughed. "We say he got what he deserved." Sir Topham Hatt spoke severely to Garfield. "You have caused confusion and delay by not listening to your own driver," he boomed. "Sorry, sir," whimpered Garfield. "Henry will take your train while you get taken back to the other railway," continued Sir Topham Hatt. After Sir Topham Hatt left, Douglas buffered up in front of Garfield. Then Donald buffered up from behind. Well, you had to run out of coal and water because you wanted to be on time," they said as they chuffed off. Garfield said nothing as he looked at his buffers in shame. Gillon the new engine. A new tender engine was coming down the line with a passenger train. He was so excited to make new friends. "Hello," he said. "Who are you, and what are you doing with Annie and Clarabelle?" "I'm Percy," he replied. "I'm taking Annie and Clarabelle because Thomas has been taken ill." "Stop talking to small engines," said Gordon as he pulled away with the express. "Never mind him," said Percy. "He's just bossy." Gordon was going happily down the line. "Good thing I'm far away from that little green tank engine," he said. Although Gordon hadn't realized it, he was going the wrong way. By the time he had realized it, Omri was getting ready to leave with a flatbed of pipes. Gordon crashed into the flatbed, causing Omri to fall off the edge, and the pipes came off. He smashed into a freight car, causing butter to fall onto Gordon, making him very cross. Omri was also cross. "I fell into a boat that will take me back to the other railway." James pushed the express down the hill in reverse and then took it over. Then Percy and Gillon came to the scene of the disaster. "Well, well, well, if it isn't Mr. Wrongway," chuckled Percy, and Gordon was upset. Sir Topham Hatt was cross with Gordon. "Gordon, you have caused confusion and delay. Not only did you go the wrong way and crash, but you also shouted at our new engine," he boomed. Gordon now felt ashamed for what he had done. "After you have been cleaned and repaired, you will shunt freight cars at Vickerstown yards for the rest of the month," Sir Topham Hatt added, and then he left. Gillon and Percy took Gordon to the works. Meanwhile, on the other railway, Diesel oiled up next to Omri. "You will be scrapped soon," he said, and he went off. Then Percy and Gillon went to rescue Omri. When they arrived at the yards, Omri spoke to Gillon and Percy. "Thank you two for helping me escape the other railway," said Omri. "You're welcome," said Percy. "Gillon, can we be friends?" "Definitely," he said, and then Omri left to collect his afternoon passenger train. "You know," said Percy, Sir Topham Hatt has sent us to work together tomorrow. What a great idea, said Gillon, and the two friends talked to each other for the rest of the day. Percy and the new engine. The trains on the island of Sodor keep very busy. There are always lots of jobs to do. One day, Sir Topham Hatt came to Tidmouth's sheds. A new engine has arrived on the island, he announced. Her name is Janelle. You must all make her feel welcome. A happy engine is a useful engine. Later, Percy was stopped at a signal. The signalman called down to Percy. The bridge ahead is unsafe. Percy, you are to collect a piece of ironwork so the bridge can be repaired. Yes, sir, huffed Percy. At the yards, Alfred and Diesel 10 were with Janelle, the new engine. Janelle had LNER on her boiler, and she had her number, and she had her number on her tender. Janelle was backing up towards some freight cars. Nearly there, said Alfred cheekily. Nearly there, said Diesel 10 naughtily. Then there was trouble. Watch where you're going, clumsy wheels, Alfred and Diesel 10 laughed. Janelle looked sad. It's not our fault if you're silly steamy, oiled Diesel 10, and they laughed even harder. Percy arrived at the yards. He could see Alfred and Diesel 10 laughing with Janelle. That must be the new engine, he thought. She must be friends with the meanies. Percy arrived at Knapford Station. Have you seen the new engine yet? Asked Henry. Yes, said Percy, but we'd better be careful. I saw her at the yards with Alfred and Diesel 10. They were laughing together. Henry was shocked. A steamy, friendly with meanies? As Percy left, James pulled in. Have you heard about the new engine? Snorted Henry. And he started to tell James all about Janelle. Later, Thomas was taking on water. He was talking to James. That new steamy Janelle is best friends with the meanies, Thomas puffed. She doesn't want to be with steamies at all. How do you know? Peeped Thomas. Henry told me and Percy told him, whispered James. Whistled James. Later, Thomas met Duck at a red signal. "Don't go near Janelle, the new engine," he told him. "The meanies have told her to biff into all of the steamies." James told me, Henry told James, and they heard all about it from Percy. When Percy arrived at the station, Sir Topham Hatt was there. "Percy, you must warn all engines not to cross the bridge until it's repaired," he boomed. Percy felt proud. Just then, he heard a whistle. Someone was coming. Percy had to warn them. It was Janelle pulling Percy's favorite coaches. Percy was shocked. The coaches that Janelle was pulling were his favorites. "Hello," puffed Janelle cheerfully. "I'm not talking to you," Percy huffed crossly. Janelle didn't know what she had done. "Hello," said Janelle happily. Duck let out a wheeze of steam. "It's no use trying to make friends with me. I know you're going to biff into all the steamies, just like Alfred and Diesel 10 told you to." Percy was surprised, but the station master blew his whistle, and Janelle puffed sadly away. "Where did you hear that Janelle was going to biff into all the steamies?" Percy asked Duck. "Don't you know?" Duck whistled. "Thomas told me. James told Thomas. Henry told James. And you told Henry," puffed Duck. "But I only said to Henry that I saw Janelle with Alfred and Diesel 10. Then Edward arrived. "Have you heard about Janelle, the new engine?" he puffed. "Gordon saw Alfred and Diesel 10 be horrible to him at the yards." Duck was shocked. Percy couldn't believe it. Janelle wasn't friends with the meanies after all. "Where was Janelle going?" Duck tooted. "Cinders and ashes!" cried Percy. "Janelle's heading for the broken bridge. I must stop her!" Janelle was speeding through the countryside as fast as she could. Suddenly, Janelle saw a barrier on the track. She slammed on her brakes. But it was too late. Janelle was in terrible trouble. She was on the broken end of the bridge. Percy knew it was all his fault. Suddenly, he had an idea. Percy steamed slowly and carefully onto the bridge. He gently bumped the coaches and was coupled up. Percy was very scared. Slowly and steadily, he began to pull Janelle back from the edge. The bridge made a creaking noise. Percy knew he must hurry, and with one big puff, he successfully pulled Janelle's wheels off the bridge. Percy had done it. He had saved Janelle and his favorite coaches. "Thank you," whistled Janelle. "I should have warned you," puffed Percy. "But I was too busy believing silly stories. I thought you didn't like steamies, but now I know I was wrong." Percy gave Janelle a long, friendly toot-toot. Janelle was very happy. At last, she knew she had a good friend in Percy. Patricia's new coaches. It was a splendid day on the island of Sodor. Oliver was taking Isabel and Dulcie back to the yard. A new engine had arrived and she wanted to say hello. The engine was smart with light green paint, the Great Western Railway logo on her boiler, and her number on her tender. Oliver, meet Patricia. Hello, Patricia. Hello, Oliver. Patricia, collect your coaches. You and your driver must learn the line. Yes, sir, she answered. Oliver was impressed. Later, the only coaches Patricia's driver could find were Isabel and Dulcie. These aren't your sort of coaches, he said, but I suppose they'll do. Isabel and Dulcie felt insulted. How dare you say will do, Dulcie whispered. Patricia puffed carefully down the track. How dare he say will do, how dare he say will do, grumbled the coaches. Oliver saw Patricia coming down the line, pulling Isabel and Dulcie. Hello, Oliver, she called. But Oliver was cross. Those are my coaches. Give them back! But Patricia didn't hear Oliver and she went on her way. Then Rosie passed. And Percy passed as well. When Patricia whistled hello, the engines didn't whistle back. Patricia couldn't understand why they were so unfriendly. She was upset. Later, Sir Topham Hatt spoke to Oliver. I want you to go to the docks to pick up new coaches. New coaches? But sir, really useful engines don't argue, said Sir Topham Hatt. Oliver didn't want new coaches. He wanted Isabel and Dulcie back. When Billy saw Patricia return to the yards, he was surprised. Those are Oliver's coaches. So that's why he looked cross, explained Patricia. I'll go and apologize. Don't want new coaches, don't want new coaches, chuffed Oliver. Later, Patricia was still looking for Oliver when a signalman flagged her down. Billy hasn't cleared his signal box, he told Patricia's driver. Please go and see what's wrong. Patricia could see that Billy had broken down on the crossing. Then Patricia heard Oliver's whistle. Oh no! Oliver could see Billy. He knew he could never stop in time. Help! Patricia charged towards Billy, and with a huge effort, she pushed him off the tracks, just in time. Thanks, I did it. Later, Sir Topham Hatt praised Patricia. Well done. You were a very brave engine. The bravest, chuffed Billy. It gives me great pleasure to present you with 2 new coaches. Thank you, sir, replied Patricia. Oliver, I'm sorry I took Isabel and Dulcie. And I'm sorry I was so cross, replied Oliver. Friends? Friends. Patricia loves her coaches and being part of Sir Topham Hatt's railway.